Today on For the Love of Hoops, our player watch is on Liangelo Ball. Will he make the NBA? Liangelo Ball is currently 19 years old, 6'5", and weighs 220 pounds. He's listed as a shooting guard. He's definitely well known by now, either by being known as Lonzo's little brother, LeVar Ball's son, or from being seen on their show, or most recently the sunglasses thing. This video is about him as a player and whether or not his talent can carry him to the NBA. A lot of analysts seem to mention the other things, but don't tend to really talk about him as a basketball player. I guess the other stuff makes for good news, but it doesn't focus on what will really determine how his career pans out. Sure, the publicity will always come with anyone in the Ball family, but is Liangelo Ball talented enough? We would have a better idea if we were able to see him play with UCLA this season, even if it only would have been a few games. He actually did play in the first exhibition game against Cal State and finished with 11 points and 1 steal in 16 minutes. He shot 4 of 8 from the field and hit 2 3-pointers. He didn't start in this game and was the leading scorer off the bench. That's it for his college career now, though, as the next game was in China. His dad took him out of UCLA once he got back because he said that the consequences were stiffer than they were in China and that UCLA was bringing Liangelo down. He also said that his point now is to get him ready for the NBA draft. And now Liangelo is looking into options playing overseas, so it will be a little while before we see him compete again. But looking back before his short stint with UCLA, he played at Chino Hills High School and held averages of 27.3 points, 3.1 rebounds, and 2.3 assists in 35 games. His next year, his rebounds and assists were still fairly low, but his scoring went up to 33.8 points a game in 30 games. His high school numbers are great, so I think it shows that he was a capable scorer on the high school level. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to see if he was able to carry that over to college because he only played in one college game and it was exhibition. Even if 11 points and 1 steal off the bench is solid, there are players who score 11 points off the bench and make careers out of it. Sure, the expectations for anyone in this family are constantly being pushed by the media, sports analysts, and the stuff that LeVar Ball says, so all of the Ball brothers will always be under heavy scrutiny. With this being said, though, you don't have to be a superstar to make the NBA. Personally, I don't think Liangelo will be a superstar or a star, but I could see him being a role player. There aren't many professionals who seem to agree, though. Adrian Wojnarowski tweeted, ex-UCLA freshman Liangelo Ball has no chance that he'll be drafted in June, and that was before his shoplifting incident in China. He's not on any of our scouting lists, even the extended lists, one GM told ESPN. Stephen A. Smith said that there is no way in hell he gets drafted in June. Truth is, I don't think he'll be drafted in June. It looks like it may be unlikely at this point, and I think a big part of that is how his season started, not just his skill level or the other things that people seem to be talking about. But I think that there are different routes that he could take to end up in the NBA. A short while before Liangelo was pulled out of UCLA, his younger brother LaMelo was pulled too. Within days of being pulled, it was reported that he was looking into playing overseas. This would probably be the best option as his chances for an American college are not looking the same anymore. So can Liangelo get picked up by a team overseas? Yes. Will he still have a chance to showcase his talents this year? Yes, he will. Actually, Brandon Jennings did this a few years back and he was still drafted to the NBA. Any team that has a player with the last name Ball is going to receive a lot of publicity, be it in North America or overseas. So what would playing overseas for Liangelo look like? It means that he likely wouldn't play under an American coach and instead he would likely be in a European system, which a lot of the time is different than the systems run in North America. In general, the game in Europe is not as fast-paced as it is in the NBA, and it focuses on team play more than individual stars. This means less isolation play, more passing, and arguably better full-team performances than in the NBA. In the NBA, it's common to see 1 or 2 players put up major numbers and therefore win the game for their team. In Europe, the scoring averages are not as high as over here, and it's a more balanced overall team scoring output. Like Brandon Jennings, though, who was a solid NBA player, Liangelo will be able to have the advantage of playing high school ball in the States and then potentially in a European league over his college years. This could mean valuable experience for him in his years leading up to being drafted, and even if that doesn't happen in June, that doesn't mean that it won't happen ever. I've noticed a lot of analysts have bashed the Ball brothers simply because it seems like they don't like LeVar. Christine Leahy, Colin Cowherd, Stephen A. Smith. I'd like to hear them talk more about Liangelo's basketball ability than his dad's personality. I guess the people that get paid the big bucks don't need to keep it objective. But you can't just leave out the fact that Liangelo is a basketball player too, and he's a 3-star recruit. Are you familiar with any other 3-star recruits, like Steph Curry, CJ McCollum, Isaiah Thomas, Courtney Lee, or Damian Lillard? Or how about 2-star recruits, George Hill, Kenneth Faried? My point is that a 3-star recruit like Liangelo can make the NBA and get drafted and keep a role on a team. So will he be drafted in June? I don't know. But will he eventually be drafted into the NBA? I think so. Even if he plays more than 1 season overseas, he can still declare for the draft at some point, or he could stay overseas until he feels like he's ready. Sasha Vujicic spent his first seasons in the Italian league. Andrei Kirilenko played for CSKA Moscow before entering the draft. Serge Ibaka played in France. Rudy Gobert also played in France for junior and senior division teams before being drafted at the age of 20. And lastly, Bruce Bowen spent time in France after college. So the factors that I think work in Liangelo's favor are, this has been done by players many times before, and he's currently only 19. Even if he played 2 seasons overseas, he could declare for the NBA draft at 21. And I could imagine that any experience that he gains overseas, he can take back with him to the NBA. 247 Sports currently has him ranked at 3 stars and a shooting guard rank of 50. We may have to wait longer than expected, but I think that Liangelo Ball is good enough, has a good body for a shooting guard, and can at least make the NBA someday. Thanks for watching, everybody.